And it was at a professional conference. And I did my thing. I talked to the people, gave my statistical analysis and researched these results and concepts and constructs of whatever it was that I was dealing with. Felt that I had done an outstanding job at the conclusion of my presentation. Felt real good about what had transpired. People were coming up to me at the end of the presentation and they were smiling and reaching out and shaking my hand, Madam Secretary, and telling me, they said, you did a real good job, and I felt good about that. Then there was this distinguished looking gentleman that approached me. I saw him coming toward me. I said, all right. And he stepped up to me and he said, young man, he said, you did a very good job in your presentation. He said, but I had an old professor that once told me that whenever I give a presentation, that I should define my constructs as close to the beginning of the presentation as I possibly can. And so today I'm reminded of the words from that gentleman. And I will endeavor to operationally define for you on this evening what I mean when I think of the idea of everybody working together. Now, in the field of psychology, we have two terms that are important, that are essential to consider when thinking about an operational definition. That is, how do we operationalize, how do we functionalize the idea of whatever we're talking about. And today we're talking about working together. So there are two terms that we use in psychology that are important that we consider when thinking about working together. These two terms are clarity and precision. Now, clarity deals with being specific, making it clear, if you will, having lucidity about the terms that we are employing. In this case, working together. What does it mean to work together? What does working together look like when we engage behaviorally in working together? What does working together mean when we're in action? What does it look like in action? What does working together look like when we talk about mental processes, when we think? What kinds of thoughts are associated with working together? And then, what are the physiological processes, the affectual or emotional domain aspects of working together? What feelings, emotions, passions go along with, correlate with working together? Well, I did a brief Google search of the term working together before I left home, and these are some of the synonyms that I got back from that search. Words such as association, Working together could mean being associated, collusion, working in concert. How about engaging in a joint effort? Participation, partnership. I like this one, teamwork. Joining in an alliance. I have an aunt that's a part of a confederation of women, the oldest group of African American women in North Carolina, the Confederation of Women. Young people like to talk about doing business with. That's in Google. Doing business with each other. When I was in active duty and in basic training down in San Antonio, I was talking to this gentleman about Brother Stephen, about Camp Bullis. We talked about a spirit de corps, carpe diem, together seizing the day. All of that has to do with working together, working in harmony. I remember a song by Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney, who talked about, this was when I was in graduate. Oh, some of y'all shaking your head. You must know this song. Back in graduate school in the 80s, they say, Ebony. Come on, somebody. And who?
Ivory.
And Ivory. Working together in what? Perfect
harmony.
Harmony. Another word for this is union, unity, joint effort. And if you want to get academic about it, we can talk about synergism, symbiosis, synergy. But I just like to stay country, since I'm from Rayford, North Carolina, and just say that it has to do with team effort, teamwork. Now, those are all good synonyms and words for helping us to define and clarify our understanding for a meaning of everybody working together. And it fits, in fact, the first or the primary goal of psychology, which is description. But you see, in my profession, there are 3 additional goals. I'm going to remove this mic so that I can talk freely. There are 3 additional goals. The first goal, of course, is to describe. The second goal is to explain. Explain. And that's where the second word comes in, precision. Because where clarity aids in the description of the terms that we're using working together, precision deals with explaining why it is that we need to work together. There has to be a reason, there has to be a purpose. Because when you get into explanation, you're talking about how long it is, and precision, you're talking about how long you're going to work together, when it is you're going to work together, where it is you're going to work together, and how are we going to work together. That's the purview of precision. And then there has to be a reason for doing that. There needs to be something that explains our need to come together. And thirdly, we need to be able to predict what we're going to do as a result of coming together. What is the outcome going to be of our working together? And finally, if we only describe and explain the reason for working together and predict what our outcome would be in working together, we're just engaging in an academic exercise. That's all we're doing, intellectual, academic exercise that may have some benefit to our souls, but it has no practical application until we step into the mix and begin to actively pursue those descriptions and explanations and predictions. And that fourth goal, therefore, is that of control. That's where we get into planning, treatment, activity, participation, actively engaging together, working for some purpose or to some benefit for some series of goals. There are many different reasons, looking at the second goal of psychology explanation, why we need to work together. Today I'm going to share just a few. The first that I want to look at is that it's something that a professor up at Columbia University talked about. In fact, he wrote an article back in 2007 that was published in the American Psychologist. And he titled this article, Racial Microaggressions in Everyday Life. And so one of the reasons that we need everybody working together, Bro Pooh, is because microaggressions are a reality in some of our lives every single day. Dr. Daryl Wayne Sue is the creator of this particular term. And let me read for you how Dr. Sue defines racial microaggressions. According to Sue 2007, racial microaggressions are brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, and environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative racial slights and insults toward people of color. Perpetuators of microaggressions are often unaware that they are engaging in such communications when they interact with racial or ethnic minorities. Now, in this article, in Table 1, Dr. Sue goes on to give us some examples of racial microaggressions that I'm going to share with you. And I'll share with you several of them from different categories. He divides the categories of racial microaggressions by what he calls themes. So he divides them thematically. One thing he says is called the ascription of intelligence. The ascription of intelligence. This is when one is assigning intelligence to a person of color on the basis of their race. I was about a third year graduate student at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale when I recognized this particular microaggression hurled toward me. I was sitting in one of my clinical supervisor's office, and suddenly he said to me, and I didn't understand why, but he said to me, he said, "Kemp, you are different than the others." I said, "What do you mean, Doc? I'm different than the others." He said, well, you're here. Well, I mean, I recognize that I worked hard at North Carolina A&T State University. I spent 6 hours a day 6 days a week in the library studying. I made as many A's as I could. I had a great time joining the fraternity. I did a lot of great stuff. And I deserved to be where I was, a full ride doctoral fellowship at Southern Illinois University, the #5 program in the country. I deserved to be right where I was. I was grateful to the Lord for his grace and for his mercy in giving me the strength and the capability to be in the program. So what I said to him, I said, well, Doc, I hear what you're saying, but something about that statement. He said, well, what do you mean, Kip? I said, man, I worked hard to be here, and I deserve to be here. But I'm no different than those who you call those others, because if you stick me with a pen, which you better not do, by the way. Bro, Pooh, I was a wrestler in high school and college. I could double leg and take them down. I was on the taekwondo team too, so I could pick up the leg and okay, so he better not stick me with a pen. But I just let the brother, I was letting let him know that if you did stick me with a pen, I would bleed just like them. I'm no different except by the grace of God. I'm given this opportunity, and I'm going to make the best of it because I have a goal. And here's another illustration of a description of intelligence. This is a microaggression. You are a credit to your race. The message here is that people of color are generally not as intelligent as white individuals. Here's another microaggression. You are so articulate. The message is that it is unusual for someone of your race to be able to speak as well as you seem to be able to. Seem to be. I've heard that. You seem to be. You seem to be intelligent. You seem to be. You appear to be. Well, why can't I just be? Why do I have to seem to be intelligent with a PhD and 2 postdoctoral degrees and a postdoctoral master's degree? Why do I have to appear to be intelligent when none of y'all have none of that? But I seem to be to the person that was speaking to me. Made me want to just forget that I was a professional. Go back to my ghetto skill days, but I can't do that. Can't backslide. We learned in graduate school you have to be a professional. You can't go outside of that. The Bible tells us that as preachers, we're not to be strikers, so we have to stand. Here's another example of a microaggression a category called color blindness. Ooh, some of y'all never heard this before. Color blindness. This theme is statements that indicate that a white person does not want to acknowledge race. So here's the actual microaggression. When I look at you, I don't see color. The message here is denying a person of color racial and ethnic experience. They say, and you've heard this on television, America is a melting pot. They say that there is only one race, the human race. The messages here is assimilation and acculturation to the dominant culture is what is preferred. We should deny the individual as a racial and cultural being. Those are microaggressions the reason we need to work together in harmony, and I'm talking about ebony and ivory, need to appreciate that this is a reality that people of color deal with on a day-to-day basis. Here's another one. The denial of individual racism. This theme deals with a statement made when white individuals deny their racial biases. So you might hear something like this. I'm not a racist. I have several black friends. I'm a member of the NAACP. And I eat with black folk every year. When we come to the fellowship, scholarship, freedom fund banquet. So I can't be a racist. And the message is that I'm immune to racism because I have friends of color. You can see it with regard to gender as well. A person that says, well, as a woman, I know what you go through as a racial minority. The message there is that your racial oppression is no different than my gender oppression. And I can't be a racist since I'm like you. Another theme is the second-class citizen theme. This occurs when a white person is given preferential treatment as a consumer over a person of color. Now, if you're a person of color and you've ever gone to any of these stores, you know you get followed.
All right.
If you don't know you get followed, or if you get tracked by those tracking machines, by those computers, then you have another thought coming. Here's the microaggression. Persons of color are mistaken for service workers. When I was a postdoctoral fellow at St. Louis University Health Sciences Center, that's the medical center there at St. Louis University, I had to come to work every day with a shirt and tie on. Got a tie on. One day, brother went to the restroom. I came out of the restroom still with my shirt and tie on. Madam Secretary, I had my shirt and my tie on. But a white lady came out of the female restroom the same time that I exited. And she looked at me and she said to me, "We need some napkins, some hand towels in the women's restroom." And I looked at that woman and I thought about my youth, my young days, growing up in the city of Greensboro, North Carolina, in the projects and in the fields there in Rayford, North Carolina. But I was a professional, I had to hold it in. So what I said to her was, well, what I will do for you is I will return back to the male bathroom and I will retrieve some hand towels and I will come back and give them to you. I said all of that because I wanted to send a message. She said, "You are not, that's okay." And I just laughed. The message there is that people of color are servants to white individuals. They can't possibly occupy high status positions. I just happen to be the first African-American postdoctoral fellow in the history of St. Louis University School of Medicine. You can put your hand together for that one if you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to, but I'll just drop that off to you just a little bit. Now here's one you see on TV. Have a taxi cab pass you because you're a person of color, and the message is you're likely to cause trouble in my taxi or to travel to dangerous neighborhoods, so I don't want to pick you up and take you to no danger where you get shot. Here's a final one. Here's a final thing. Second-class citizen. Now these are all Dr. Darrell Wayne Sue. Oh, who, by the way, happens to be Asian American. He's not African American. He's Asian American. He talks about the second-class citizen status. He says this occurs when a white person is given preferential treatment as a consumer over a person of color. The microaggression is when the person is being ignored at a store counter as attention is given to the white customer behind them. This is a microaggression that we have to deal with. The message is that white individuals are more valued customers than people of color. Now here's one that some of us are old enough to remember when that rich guy was running for president. No, I'm not talking about Trump, not that rich guy. But I'm talking about the old rich guy. Well, still not talking about Trump. But I'm talking about the little short rich guy a long time ago, and he said, you people. Who am I talking about? What was his name? Ross Perot. That's who I'm talking about. See, I knew somebody from Sedalia, because y'all voted for him. But I knew somebody knew Ross Perot. He said, you people, y'all, who remembers that? The you people in Sedalia. Well, why does he say you people? I want to take care of you people. I want to make sure that your people and you people, that the message there is you don't belong with us. You are lesser being. So this is one of the reasons why we need to work together. Ebony and ivory, black and white, African American and European American, and all the Americans. We need to work together because your African American folks have some things that are reality on a day-to-day life, in the day-to-day life, that we have to live with, that we have to deal with. So we need to work together about this. But remember in the definition of this microaggression, I said that one of the issues that we deal with is that the person may not know that they're engaging in this microaggression. That's one problem. But another problem with the microaggressions, though, is that not only may they not know that they're engaging in the microaggression, but even if they did, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. The same man, Dr. Darrell Wayne Sue, in 2004, gave an address as president of Division 16 of the American Psychological Association. Well, that was Division, in fact, it was Division 40, I believe. Division 40 of the American Psychological Association, Counseling Psychology. And in that address, he introduced a concept that he referred to as the conspiracy of silence. That's a second issue that we have to deal with as people of color. The conspiracy of silence. What was Dr. Sue talking about? The conspiracy of silence. He said that issues relative to race, when you're talking about history of black people in America, you're talking about racism, discrimination, you're talking about issues that confront African Americans on a day-to-day basis. It makes white individuals, white people, uncomfortable. So much so that they simply say, well, we don't want to talk about that. Why don't we want to talk about it? Well, you black folk, when you talk about it, y'all start getting upset. You get angry. We don't want you angry. I didn't do that. I didn't own slaves. So why are you getting upset? See, because here's the thing about it. There is a history that is still today a reality. We are still dealing with prejudice. We are still dealing with bigotry. We are still dealing with hatred. We are still dealing with all of these discriminations. We're going to look at that and see that in just a moment here. But there's a group of individuals that don't want to deal with it. They want to keep it silent. Oh, let's not talk about that. Whereas black folk, people of color, well, we do. Let me say specifically, black people want to talk about it. And so Dr. Sue gave this presentation, and a lot of folks, they didn't like it, boy. They said, what? How are you going to say that we have a conspiracy of silence? And so what I did in my course in multicultural psychology is I had my students to do a report on this. They had to write a paper about this. And what I found in reading their paper was that there had been no empirical studies done on this conspiracy of silence. So I got one of my honor students And we developed an instrument, a questionnaire, that we call the Conspiracy of Silence questionnaire. And we administered this questionnaire to a number of individuals, black, white, and we had a third category, others, but they were made up, a majority of that other category were Latino individuals. And we administered this survey, got back the results from the analysis, and found that empirically now we have evidence to support the theoretical proposition of Dr. Daryl Wayne Sue that yes, there is in fact a conspiracy of silence. In my research, I found that white students at the university, which was my population, that was my sample, did not want to talk about issues relative to race, no matter what they were, historical issues or contemporary issues. They didn't want to deal with any of this stuff. Discrimination, racism, bigotry, institutional racism. Didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to deal with it. However, African Americans said that we want to talk about it. This is important for us to deal with. Now, why is it important for us to talk about these things instead of remaining silent? Well, let me give you a few statistics. When you look at the sentences for murder for first degree by race between 1991 and 2014, you will see that 57 white individuals were on death row here, and there were 35 black people on death row. Of the 57 white individuals, 43 were executed. Of the black individuals, out of 35, 30 were executed. Here's what that looks like. Of the white individuals, 75.4% were executed, but 85.7% of the black people were executed. What about when we look at high school graduation rates? We see that 89% of our white students are graduating according to the National Center for Education Statistics, but only 73% of black students are graduating from high school. How about the college graduation rates? 62% of white students are graduating from college, according to the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education, while only 42% of black students are graduating from college. When it comes to unemployment here in the United States, the unemployment rate, and you listen to it on TV and the news, the unemployment rate is about 4.9%. But when you look at black unemployment, the average is somewhere between 9 and 11%. According to the Economic Policy Institute, here in the state of Missouri, we're talking about 14.4% unemployment rate for African Americans. When we consider salaries for African Americans and white individuals, what do we see? Well, for white individuals with less than a high school diploma, they make about $13.57 an hour. But a black person with less than a high school diploma can expect to make only $11.25 an hour. A white person with a high school diploma can expect to make $18.25 an hour. Whereas a black person with a high school diploma can expect to make $14.24 an hour. If you're white and you go to college and you take some college classes, you can make $19.80 an hour. But if you're a black person and you go to college and take some college classes, you can anticipate making $15.85 an hour. If you graduate from college and you're a white person, you can expect to make $31.83 an hour. But if you're black, it's going to be around $25.77 per hour. What if you get a master's degree, a JD law degree, or some other advanced degree? Well, if you're white, you can expect to make at least $39.82 per hour. But if you're black, you're going to make significantly lower than that, around $33.51 per hour. What about in terms of household income? Is there a discrepancy for black individuals and white individuals in America for that? Oh, you better believe it. Because if you're white, your household income and therefore the community you live in is going to likely be more affluent and more economically privileged than if you live in a black community, because the household income of white individuals is $71,300 per year, whereas the household income for black individuals is $43,300 a year, according to the Pew Research Institute. Tanzia Vega of smartasset.com tells us that for college-educated white individuals, the median household income is $106,600. Whereas for a black individual, the median household income is $82,300. And these are for college-educated individuals. According to the Missouri Economic Research and Information Center, there are 36,230 black-owned business firms here in Missouri. In the U.S., there are almost 2.6 million black-owned firms. Around 2012, a little bit more than that now, sales and receipts for black-owned firms totaled around $150.2 billion. So some money is there. But Missouri, why do we need to work together? Because out of all of that, and out of all of these businesses and black-owned businesses in the United States and all this money that's being made, Missouri ranks 19th among the states in the total number of black-owned businesses. We have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of reasons why we need to work together. Let me show you with you one other statistic, and then I'm going to close. Group of statistics. When we look at our college students, when we look at African American college students, and I've been teaching college since 1980. Since I was 21 years old, I started teaching college as a graduate student. And except for the 3 years that I was on active duty in the Army, I've been teaching and working in the university environment. Even when I was a postdoctoral fellow at St. Louis U, I taught on the campus of the university in the Department of Psychology. So I know something about college students, especially not only white college students, but black college students. And here's what the literature says with regard to black college students and the types of majors, because this is a major issue. Fewer black college students tend to major in the high-paying fields. Our black college students tend to major in the lower paying fields. And I don't care where you go, from North Carolina to California, from Michigan and Wisconsin and all up further north, all the way down to Texas, wherever you go, you're going to find that black college students tend to major in fields that tend to pay less than what our white counterparts tend to major in. Here are some examples. About 20% of black students major in health and medical administrative services. Not as a physician, not the big money, not the money, but administrative services. I was just in Nashville, Tennessee, and a couple of brothers came in there with blues on. They were on the blue guard. And I'm like, hey, brother, what you in here, man? Y'all interns, man? You doctors, you interns? He looked at me and said, no, man. We work in the lab. We're technicians. Health and medical administration, not the big money, but the lesser money. 20%, about 19% are in human services and community organization. About 18, a little bit over 18% are in social work. About 12% of our black students get into theology and religious vocations. See, here's what I noted. And what I was thinking as I was putting this together, our black folk, our black student, and our black people want to do stuff that helps people. We want to help somebody, like somebody may have helped us, or like we may have needed help. And so we have a heart for people, and so we try to choose majors where we can help somebody. And a lot of students you see get into criminal justice. And I say to them, when I found out they majors criminal justice, I say, you got an uncle or grandpa or uncle or cousin or somebody you want to get out of jail, don't you? And they start laughing.